Okay.
Ready?
Natural light, all in all, is
Yeah.
Okay,
pretty
please
good.
state your name for us.
My name is
You
Bob
rolling?
Patton.
Did you roll your phone?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Tell me something great about being in your 60s.
Well, I think it's somewhere between having all these experiences and trying to uh, decide what to do with the time that you have left. I guess the problem is not knowing how much time that is. That's the so you want to try and do some things.
What kind of things would you do?
Well, there's always the traveling things, and 'cause I've done some of that in the past, like to maybe revisit some places, the mountains. I'm not much of a big city guy, but my son contends I have to go to New York City because it's one of those places. But a little traveling, I do like to do nothing, so that's one of my favorite things to do.
What kinds of things are important to you these days? How are the things that are important to you differ from the things that were important to you back, say, in your 30s?
Well, a lot of it right now, like I was saying before, is being a grandpa. Family has always been extremely important to us, and it's just kind of going through various levels right now. And now with the 5 grandchildren and everything else, and watching them grow up, it's like they say, if I'd have known grandkids were this much fun, I'd have had them first. Because when you when things go a little wrong with the grandchildren, you just bring it to the attention of your son that his daughter's having some trouble here, and so you get the good side without the other side. So family's always been important, and that's just constantly evolving.
In saying that, how has your role as a husband and or father also changed over the years?
Well, it's expanded a little bit. My son's now 32 and 35. Yeah, the baby's 32. Those things have changed, but they still, you know, value the old man's input, or at least they tell me that. And the grandkids, you start to think about trying to remember what you'd done with your kids and try to have a little of that influence and be a positive influence on the grandchildren doing the right things. They're a little young for a lot of that right now, but
Would you say your kids still need you in some ways?
yeah, yes, I do. I do think they do, or at least they keep me in the loop enough to make me feel that and still, valuing your opinion. It's still kind of funny. He'll call up and go, "Well, I've got this situation or that. You know, what do you think?" So I'll tell them what I think, and a lot of times, because I am their father and I did bring them up, they were kind of thinking the same thing anyways. So it's,
Okay. How do you?
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry. It's just
That's
gonna
okay.
make a little.
except I won't remember any of it anyways.
Going back to the age of 60, 60 plus, when you were younger, did you even think of the number 60? Did you ever dream you become 60? I mean,
I guess I never really thought about it. It's kind of one foot in front of the other, and it's always, you know, been that way. It's although 60 was one of the. I remember turning 60 a year and a half ago now. That was one that I actually. Boy, this is something. 50 didn't seem to matter. 40 didn't. None of those seemed to matter as much. And 60 did seem to have. Why did it? Not real sure, but that just seemed to be a little different marker than some of the others were.
does it make you feel old? What?
No.
No? What would you say, how would you define old? If you don't think 60 is old, what does old mean to you?
No, I think age is a number, and it's all where your head is, what you think it is, what you think you can do, and that may not be the same as what you can actually do. Aches, pains, but you can have those when you're 25. That's not restricted to being 60. old really isn't, age is, it is, I think it's all in your head. I think a lot of it is.
And people in their 30s can seem old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Depends on the, you know, what you've had, you know, what your route has been, what your, you know, trip through life has involved. That's for sure.
Do you think your philosophy of life has changed over the years? Now that you've been here 60 years, do you think differently about certain things?
I had that serious accident that I had was going to be 13 years ago now, and that changed a little bit the way I thought. I don't know that had necessarily anything to do with age, but it does make you look at things a little bit differently, not as far as not taking anything for granted. And I think that would go along with being older as well, because I always told my mother, I said, we don't talk about, you know, age so much as being closer to the end than we are to the beginning. And you know, at what point you started going, you know, that was that over the hill thing they talk about, and that you are a little closer to the end than you are to the beginning. So maybe you should think about doing some of the things that you want to do, or at least you think you want to do.
Such as accomplishments? Do you have any accomplishments left that you want to do? Any achievements yet to come?
I want to get to retirement. I'm not sure when that's going to be either, but and then why do you want to get to retirement? Because I'm not unhappy at what I'm doing now, and you're still going to need to stay busy, I think. And accomplishments, I look at my kids, back to the family thing, you know, and that means something to me to have good children, and then back to, you know, good grandchildren on the heels of that. So.
And if you could tell younger people what it's like to be 60, or if they have any fears about turning 60, what would you tell them?
Well, it still goes. There shouldn't be any fear of that number, as opposed to when you were 18. You know, when you were 15, you thought you were going to live forever, and then now that you end up being 60 and you are on the way to living forever, you know, is that what you had expected it was going to be? But again, it's don't take anything for granted. That's, you know, back to what I learned, you know, those 12, 13 years ago. That don't take anything. Every day is still important. You know, there's more days. You know, we've had more days, but everyone's still important.
Mm. Life is a gift.
Yes, it is.
Life is a gift. Don't mess it up. That's what I always say. Do you believe in some people say that reaching this milestone is kind of a wake-up call to do more, to live more life, there's the big trendy thing now, the bucket list.
Well,
What are your thoughts on the bucket list?
well, I don't. Yeah, one of my friends asked me, "Do you have a bucket list?" And I go, "No." Should I have, just like yours? Should I have a bucket list? Should I have, you know? I suppose, you know. I've got a friend that goes to Europe all the time, and I should tag along and do one of those things with him, and that'd be okay. But is there an act? No, there is not one. I got to answer that question. No, there is not a bucket list. Should I have one? I don't. I went to Hawaii 2 years ago. I didn't even know that was on the list. I got to drive as a car guy. I got to drive a Model A Ford in a parade at German Fest 2 years ago. I'd never driven a Model A Ford. I picked it up from a guy who lived in Heartland and drove it back here. I put 75 miles on this thing. It was pretty neat, and I didn't even know it should have been on the bucket list. I didn't even know that it was. If it was, I could have scratched it off. But there's a lot of things I don't even know that we that we know or we don't know. You know, what should be on there? Well, I want to go to Australia. I want to do this and that. I think so many of the things that, you know, should be on your bucket list, you don't even, you know what those are until, like I said, driving this Model A with. Wow, this should have been on. If I had one, this should have been on the list. but since I didn't have a list, there wasn't anything to scratch off.
And how about just living life in the moment and doing what you want to do instead of this bucket list that we? It seems like a lot of pressure to me to have a bucket list.
Well, and I
way.
think you're right that well, I have to do this. I have to, like I said before, I really like doing nothing. You know, that doesn't mean I can come over and help you. It means I'm doing nothing. And well, how can you just? I got friends that retired and they're doing this and that and traveling around, and other ones are just kind of doing nothing. I don't want to actually sit around and do nothing, but I don't want to have to plan anything. I don't want to, oh boy, how many years do I have left? I got 7 things on this bucket list that I have to get going on, and if I don't win the lottery, I'm never going to make it anyways. So it's, I think pressure is a good, way to put that. We'll see, what comes out. This whole Model A, thing, which I keep going back to, was just, a friend of a friend needed somebody to drive this, and I could drive a stick, so would I be willing to do this? Absolutely. I didn't know I was going to do that. It ended up being a little more work than I had anticipated, but it was wildly worth it. And took my grandkids out for a ride in the rumble seat in this bucket A, or this Model A, and it was, there you go. So it's kind of take what, have your eyes open. I think that's probably the best phrase for it. Just, what's coming along. Take advantage of what presents itself.
Keep moving forward.
Give me 1 second. I'm just
Sure.
going to make a look.
Okay.
Those of us that are wise have no one to make no comment.
Let's go back to the pressure. Talk about pressure of the bucket list. When you retire, though, people retire because they want to get away from the pressure of work, and they just feel free to be. Now I can just relax and do what I want. Is that? Do I have that right? That's what you are looking forward to doing?
Well, I had a long conversation with a friend of mine he was actually retiring. When do you want to retire? Why do you want to retire? I'm not running away from work. I can still do the work physically, mentally. That it would happen sooner, rather than later if my body wouldn't keep up, my brain wouldn't keep up, and knock on wood, those are still, both working. But I don't think I'm just going to turn the switch off either. I think in the line of work that I'm in, if I wanted to work 4 days a week, 3 days a week, somebody would find a home for me to do that, so I wouldn't have to just stop. Maybe I'd have more of that do nothing time that I love so much, but you can only do nothing so much, I guess.
Right. With retirement, do you feel that perhaps men have a harder time retiring because their job, it's been said that men are identified by their job, so once they retire, perhaps that they kind of don't know what to do with they don't know who they are. How would you comment on that?
Well, I never gave that any thought, and spending my life working on cars, you never get away from people who want some kind of input one way or the other, want your opinion one way or the other. So I don't know that in my case that would ever go away. But I don't think I need that validation or what have you, because I don't want to say I'm satisfied, but I'm satisfied with my career and what I've done and what I've been able to do, and where I fit in, to that business. So I don't feel that that's one way or the other.
Okay. All right.
Tell me how you think about this, men versus women getting older. Do you think one has a harder time getting older? Fear of getting older?
Well, I guess we all used to think that women feared, getting older, more than men did. But I don't think that that's true at all anymore. I don't know. I think there are certainly, some men that do. Some, I think I started losing my hair when I was 15. So there isn't any, that is what it is. You're not going to see me with a hairpiece, with anything else, trying to look younger, trying to, do any of that. And I think there's a lot of women that feel, the same way. I want to, look okay, but I don't need to look 25, to look 45 anymore. I don't know that there's that are women are any worse about it than men are. Maybe women used to be, but it may have gone the other way, that men don't want to appear older, or talk to men, to Men's Hair Club or something about that one. But accept the horror, I guess, is the phrase. So.
What makes you happy? Other than the grandchildren, what makes you happy?
That's
a biggie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's does make me having accomplished. I'm just trying to think. You have better days at work and the worst days at work because you're actually successful at fixing something or getting something accomplished, and that may be. I'll be happy on weekends when I'm not at work because I did get the grass cut, or I did do this. Just having accomplished something. I would feel worse if I had what'd you do last weekend? I didn't do anything. And as much as I like doing nothing, sometimes when you do nothing, you don't feel like you'd accomplished anything. I always used to say that I would try and bust my butt on Saturday so I could sit on it on Sunday. Because then I'd accomplish something, and as I was sitting there looking back, going, I got that done. Doesn't that grass look nice? Got some of that stuff done, so I can't see nothing. But getting something accomplished is, I think, what makes me happy. And that's that can fall back to the kids and anything else too.
Sure. I feel sometimes that I don't think people know how to do nothing. I don't care what ages. I feel like in our society we have to do busy like every second. And getting older, a lot of people just kind of don't want to do that. They do want to do more of nothing. But even like you're saying, that's maybe not the case. We just can't sit still. I guess it's okay, right?
I actually have no problem. I had some weird party a couple of weeks ago, and somebody asked me, I think I was sitting back having a drink, just sitting in a chair, and said, "Bob, are you retired?" And I go, "No, I'm not. I'm just very good at doing what I perceive as being retired." And that's, doing nothing when you just turn your brain off. I absolutely can just, if there's something going wrong or something else, just turn it off, put it out of my mind, and do that. I've learned how to do that. I don't know how or why, but I can think about nothing. What are you thinking about? Nothing? Well, you can't be thinking about nothing. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about nothing.
Sorry, that's just
And if people can't get well, you have to be thinking about something. You have to work tomorrow. You have to do this. There's dinner to make. There's grass to cut. I guess I really didn't think about that.
Sorry, I kind of laughed. You want to cut it off? Well, I'm laughing. It's just such a lighthearted way to look at things. I don't know.
And you best do that because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So it's and that's this world that we live in, and but we all digress. But there's too many bad things that if you can sit and focus on those all the time if you'd like to, but I prefer not to.
Right.
I choose not to.
Right. If you think about the end of your life, how has your perspective on that changed over the decades?
I guess I really haven't thought about it. The retiring and trying to save money for retirement, but excuse me. But so you want to try and save the money so you can retire and do something after you retire. But what if your health and what have you doesn't allow you to do something when you retire? You best not pile that all up for something that you're not going to be able to do. So you still need to enjoy life while you're going through it. Don't try and rush off to this retirement. Don't try and rush off to being 60. Like, well, I really want to do that. I really want to. How's the phrase go? If I thought I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. But on that note, you do need to do that. You do need to. I'm not going to be eating right or do anything else, but just excesses.
Do you think about death, dying at all? You don't? Not at all?
No.
It never enters your mind?
No.
What can that be? Don't we all think about death from time to time? It's all around us.
As far as my end, no. Well, it comes back to the, is it important? Absolutely. Is there anything you can do about it? Absolutely not. Back to the accident. I was going off for a Saturday morning ride. Hit a deer, the guy behind me runs me over. Didn't quite figure on that one. But, no, I don't. I'm not afraid of it. I don't.
Do you think because of that accident that you suppress not thinking about death or dying?
No, it's not suppressed. It's not,
Okay.
I guess I don't, I guess that was one of those, if maybe I was a little bit closer. Everything else, if it was my time, this conversation would not be taking place, but it wasn't. We all have, various beliefs on what's involved with that, and it just simply wasn't.
And you lived your life differently from after you...
Well, my perspective may be a little bit different, just because, every day's a gift. Don't take anything for granted. That's what I told my nephews. Don't take anything for granted, no matter what it is. Dinner, cutting the grass, doing whatever.
Right.
One of the therapists had asked me, he says, what do you want to do when he had us all together, his new charges, what do you want to do today, when you get out of, therapy that you can't do now? I said, well, I want to be able to be sitting watching a Packer game, get up, go down, walk downstairs, get myself a beer, come back upstairs and sit back down, because I can't do that now. I learned how to walk and do all the rest of that stuff, but I knew I wasn't done, so I was going to get back to it.
And how long were you in therapy? You were...
I was in a coma for 5 weeks. I was in the hospital for 3 months, and then I had therapy for 3 months after that. But I could walk when I got out of the hospital, but still, therapy beyond that.
So yeah, that totally changes your perspective and...
Well, it's a little bit...
Outlook on life.
It does make you look at things a little bit differently, so, but not the death thing or anything else, or, that I felt worse for my family than I did for me. People say, oh, that must have been a real tough time going through this, all this physical damage and everything else. I said, well, you want to feel bad for somebody. You feel bad for my family that's got to sit there and, they put me in a medical, coma kind of thing like they do, and then they turn the switch back on and Bob didn't come back on. Talking about playing music that he likes, that we've all read about. Oh no. And then I was back, so.
They must have played the right music.
I guess. Yeah. Well, it's still in the car.
Tell me anything else you have to add about turning 60. Any more thoughts you have on reaching this milestone or being in your 60s?
Well, I like to think, I used to tell the younger kids that I worked with, I said that I was going to be retired 10 years before they were, so, so there you have it. But it's all about, we'll try to learn something every day. That doesn't always happen, but like keeping your eyes open and paying attention. I don't know if that's necessarily a 60s thing, but like I did say that, 60 just seemed to be, I paid a little more attention to that because I don't care. I don't know if 70 will be any different or whatever else is left after that, but 60 seemed to mean a little bit more. Maybe that was because society throws a little bit more of a tag on that number than it does on 50 or 40 or 30 or whatever.
Any more questions from you?
No, it's good.
One more
It's great.
question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's
Okay.
Get ready.
That's defensive, isn't there, that posture thing?
What's the capital of Utah?
Ogden.
Ooh, we never had an Ogden
No.
before. Ogden? Is there an Ogden, Utah? But that's wrong.
Well, obviously, it's obviously wrong.
Yeah, obviously wrong. Salt Lake City.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it that simple?
See,
That
you
was
learn
too easy.
right. You learn something. This
See,
is what you,
that's another one of those. Wait a minute. Oh yeah.
right. Yeah.
You know, your health, your friends. Well, you can buy both of those. Well, yeah, but not really.
Although I think the health thing, if you don't have your health, there's not much
The
you're going to be
wheels-
able
the
to
wheels
do,
have fallen off. You know.
no matter what age you are.
Well, when I was in the
Right.
hospital, because I think you Bob to come down to see me, and he brought me a beer, and Jack and one of the friends, he says, you know, your job probably saved your life. Well, yeah, I drink a lot of water. I'm on my feet all the time. I mean, I was 49 at the time.
Oh, you were?
Accident. I was 49. I was not 50 is what I was. Because it was going to be 49 because I was 02. I was 02. August 24th. Yeah. Sometimes
Yeah.
it seems like it was yesterday. Sometimes it seems like it
Well,
never happened.
right.
You know, that was a big deal. I mean, they had, so I was up at Beta Clark and Nina and all the rest of that stuff. And it was,
Right.
but yeah, I wanted to be out of the hospital by my birthday. And I got out November 7th,
When'd you?
November 22nd.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know. But one of you, somebody's the end of November. But, yeah.
No,
Never mind.
yeah, my dad's at the end of November, but you know he doesn't have birthdays anymore.
Yeah.
Are we rolling?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
We're just rambling.
Oh, that's okay. That's you know.
At least you're here now.
When you were younger, did you think about at some time turning 60? Did that just seem like you never thought about
No,
it?
I never thought about it. It's back to the one foot in front of another, one day after the other. I mean, I celebrate every day. Well, celebrate might not be the right word, but when it's time to take my lunch break and sit down and have lunch, and when it's Thursday and then Friday and then. Well, there was one last week. There'll be one next week. But it's the little things that seem to, you know, it's just gotten break it down a little farther. I guess it takes a lot less to make me happy, and I guess it takes a lot less to get me aggravated. But that's the old. I never thought about. I consciously, you know, what about 70? What about 80? Maybe I think about now what I'm going to be able to do. Back to that retirement thing. Well, I'm gonna work as long as I can work.
Okay.
If I can't, then I would be stopping. But you know, as long as I can, it doesn't. I can do it. Sometimes you have mental days, but
Does it seem to you that, like, all of a sudden 60 arrived? That I was 40. All of a sudden now I'm 60. Like, boom! Like you wake up and 60. Did that?
well, I guess it really didn't, you know, matter that much. I guess, you know, if it had, maybe then I'd have been thinking more about it. That's like, oh no, I'm going to be 60. Oh no, I was, you know, I keep complaining about. They keep moving the senior discounts. You know, they used to be 55, then they were 60. Then I turned 60, then they made them 65. So it's they keep moving the target on those. That's about as much as I had thought about that number.
Well, they now say 60 is middle age, so I'm guess if I live to be 120, that'd be awesome. If you know, if I could be like Amy.
Hopefully you can still do something.
Hopefully I can still do something.
I guess it'd kind of be a waste of time otherwise, wouldn't it?
Let me ask you, how has your role as a husband and father have changed over the years? Do you remember when you were a father at age 30 and compared to how you're a father now? What are the differences?
Well, with every day comes experience, and it's that's why they always say that a parent that only has one child really isn't a parent, because you know one's easy when you have two. All of a sudden you have two, and you go, wow, I thought having one was hard, you know. But you've learned, you know, you've learned more. I try and impart some of that to the kids as much as they'll listen, but it's, or I'll see them, having some trouble, or one of the neighbor kids this weekend, he's there with his kids, one of the kids that grew up around here, you know, a little younger than my boys, and his one son's going this way, and they're 3, 4, you know, and one's going that way, one's going this way, and he's headed for the elevator. So I have a Patrick, the other boy's gonna take an elevator ride. Go, you know.
Right. Right.
So, but it's just experience, eyes in the back of your head.
Right.
You know, that kind of change. You're less
Yeah.
excited about it. You get less worried about it. You know, you do the best you can.
Right.
That's because before you were worried that you couldn't. Whatever you did wasn't going to be good enough.
Right.
Well, yes, it is. You know, you learn that you do the best you can, and that's, you know, that is all you can do.
In
Good.
thinking of the end of life situation, how has your perspective changed over the years, over the decades? Death, dying, do you think about it?
Like I said before, no, I really just don't, you know, I don't want to linger around and, you know, back to being a burden on, you know, somebody else in a, you know, from a mental standpoint or from a physical standpoint. That's not good on either side of, like I mentioned before. I don't want to be on either side of that equation. I don't want to be the one being taken care of or the one taking care of this older person, or, you know, and that doesn't have anything to do with age either. You know, you can have illnesses and what have you, infirmities of various, various likes at any age.
Ken, are you,
Yeah.
do you need more? Or?
No, that's
Okay.
great.
Okay.
No